Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. Today I kind of I've had a lot of thoughts in my head this week, kind of wanting to share with you guys, more so going maybe a little bit more in depth to what I talked about in the first video that I posted coming back. And I wanted this to be a little bit more unedited, so I'm going to try and do my best to not edit this a lot. And I also did my best not to have a formal script, because I think I can get really caught up in wanting to preserve my self-image and wanting to have a script so I know exactly what I'm going to say, so that when I do post something, it's not taken, I know exactly how I'm being communicated when I'm scripted, when it's a lot more difficult when I don't have a script but I have more of an outline of what I want to talk about. And so I just wanted to chat for a little bit, something that I think has come up for me for sure. I talked a little bit about my financial situation, especially going into marriage, but I haven't really talked about being married and what that looks like, combining our finances, starting to talk with somebody else about what our finances look like. And it really didn't come out to be that big of a deal until we were probably I've always tracked my expenses by month. So September was the first full month that we had combined our finances, combined our spending. And that's where I was like, holy moly, we are spending a lot more than we can probably afford to be spending. And it was, for both of us, I think it was easier being single. We each manage money very differently. I'm obviously very in the details of everything, and he is very much so not cookie cutter, but just I have a debit account, I have a debit card, and then I have a savings account. And so if the money's not in his debit account, he wouldn't spend it. And so I think that's probably more of an average person. Whatever average is, I don't really know, but I do know that not a lot of people are like me. We both could be making a decent amount of money. This is something we talked about this week. I shared how I left my engineering job. I could be probably making over, at the very least three figures. At the very least, I could probably be making 6 figures right now at this point. And I choose not to. I choose not to go down that road. And the same thing is with Noah. Noah does have a lot of experience, especially when he was in the military, that he could take and make a lot of money. And we both choose not to do that. The other person being completely fine with that. We both work part-time. Granted, we do work in jobs that are relatively high paying for being part-time jobs. However, that limits us a lot with our finances, what we can do, but it also allows us to have a lot of flexibility in terms of traveling, doing other things with our time. The only way I'm able to play golf as competitively as I do is by working part-time. It would be nearly impossible if I was working a full-time job and expected to be working 8 hours 5 days a week. And that's something I choose to pursue because I love to do that. That's something that I have found my passion in, and I have a great support system behind that. And at this point for both of us, because that's kind of what I choose to pursue. And then with Noah, he works part-time also, and he also does a lot of recovery stuff, a lot of things with his 12-step program. And each of us working part-time allows us to pursue other things that we really enjoy doing. However, as I said, it does restrict us a lot. And we have to be, what we learned in this past month is we do have to be fairly careful with our finances, how we are spending. For example, we spent almost $800 on groceries in household items last month, which in my head is like absolutely ridiculous. Granted, Noah eats like twice as much as I do. So we've had to be much more careful about where our money is going, more careful about not just buying things on random. And that's something we did talk about. Something Noah did affirm me in this week, which I really appreciate, is he said, I somehow can combine like my conservatism, so me and my like desire to save money and just really consume what I need, and my creativity. So, which is true. Like I have noticed that about myself, that I get very creative with how I save money. And he has pointed out how that's a very unique attribute that I have, and that not a lot of people have that. And so I think the direction I want to go with this channel, I honestly have no idea what I'm doing with this channel. All I do know is that I do want my channel to be a reflection of like who I am and what goes on in my head, which is very difficult for me. It's very difficult for me to come on and be like very honest about my life or finances or things that are difficult that people don't really talk about. That's difficult for me to do with an audience that I don't know personally, like I'm not one-on-one with. It's even with people who know me really well. Like I probably have shared more on this channel than I have with some of my like closest friends. That being said, I think it's going to take me some time figuring out what is too much, what is too little. And in the meantime, I'm not really sure like what this channel is going to look like. That's what I have. Like I encourage people like to pursue what they want. If they want to work part-time and then pursue other things, like it's possible. And like we are making it work. It's not perfect and we're not rolling in cash. I will say it has helped the fact that like I was at one point working a well-paying job, and I did save a lot of money leading into this stage of life. And so I'm not as concerned with maxing out my 401k in any way. Not to say that like we aren't spending. It's just that's not as high on my priority list at this point. Not to say we're not spending, or not to say that we're not saving. So that's pretty much all I wanted to share about that in our financial situation. If you had any questions or anything you want me to like make a video about, I know this is going to be a longer, more like podcasty type video or more chatty video, certainly leave a comment down below. Like there have been a lot of changes in my life since I left, or since I took a break from YouTube. So the next thing I wanted to talk about was, I talked a lot about our experience leaving a church and how difficult that has been. I almost started crying in that last video, and it has something that's been very difficult to navigate in these past 10 months. Like there are things that have come up that just invoke so much hurt and sadness around the church. And I tried to record this. I tried to record something like this. I think it was yesterday, and it was just like not working. My words were just like not working. And one of the things I talked about was I had gone on a backpacking trip in Washington State, like an organized backpacking trip with a group of women who were all Christians, and one of them, they were from all over the country, and one of them happened to live very close to where I live, maybe like 25 minutes away. And I got to know her really well, and it turned out we were both Enneagram 5s, which is really cool because there aren't a lot of female Enneagram 5s. And so we got to talking, and I ended up going to church with her. All I think I really wanted to do was just evaluate how I was doing in church, or what I was feeling being there. And one thing I have like really struggled with in pretty much every church I've been a part of is I have like the hardest time paying attention on Sunday during like preaching. Like I'm thinking about 100 things. I used to bring like coloring books with me because I just needed to keep like my hands busy. Now I don't have one right now, but I used to make those like I think they're called boondoggles. They're like keychains that I used to make at like summer camp, just to like keep my hands busy because I just could not pay attention at all. Something I talked to my counselor about is like I just always thought I just like had a hard time paying attention, and that hasn't always been the case. What is true is that I think, and I'm not trying to like boast about it, but I know I'm like fairly intelligent. Like I don't think I could have gotten a chemical engineering degree without having some sort of intelligence. And so I think my brain works at such a capacity that if I'm not being like really intellectually engaged, then I just don't pay attention at all. And my counselor, compared it to like kids in school who would get in trouble because they weren't paying attention. And it's not that they were not smart. It's just that they weren't being engaged enough to their intellectual level in school, that they were just off getting in trouble, like messing around with things. And I like that. I connect with that so much, like so much. Like I had the hardest time paying attention in school, the hardest time just being engaged with whatever I am doing. Like if I'm not having like if I'm not being intellectually stimulated, I have a really hard time paying attention. And so, however, I know that church is not just a Sunday morning. That's not all that church is, although that's what I think a lot of people make it out to be. I don't remember who told me this. It may have been Noah. It may have been my counselor. But something they said was that church is not Sundays. Church happens in homes. So church happens when people from a local church meet in other people's homes and like break bread together and are authentic with each other. And so anyways, I ended up visiting this church with my friend, and I ended up running into somebody I went to college with when I was there. And I was fairly close with her in college, but we didn't connect. She was a year older than me, so I don't know, we weren't like best friends or anything. And so I ran into her at the church, and it ended up being like she was very well connected. Her and her husband were very well connected in the church, and we ended up getting coffee with them one morning, me and Noah. Noah has had his own journey going to church, but me and Noah ended up going to coffee with her and her husband one morning. It was super short, right before service, and we just kind of talked to them about like our hurt with the church. I don't like calling it church hurt, but and they were very receiving of it. And they, being well connected, we ended up setting up a meeting with the pastor of the church this past week. We ended up meeting with the pastor, and we kind of just shared which, just for one, going into a pastor's whatever office of a church, what am I saying? Not having been in a church in a long time, and me coming from somebody who worked in ministry, like I've talked about it before, and I haven't ever disclosed like where I did work. I did work at a very large mega church for 2 years in the DC area. And the fact that I had left a church, not that church, but left a church and had so many feelings about it, or even the fact that I know a lot of people who worked in ministry who left and just needed to take a break from church, is sad. And so we walked into that meeting with that pastor really scared. I think going into it, we just wanted to share our whole story about us as a couple, how he would respond to that. I think we believed would have been indicative of him as a pastor and therefore the church as a whole. Because I do believe that the pastor of any church is going to be representative of what the church is. When we shared our whole story with this pastor, something I did really appreciate was not him trying to like get us to come to his church. Granted, we have not decided on like anything. He just, I think, had a zeal for us in seeking Christ within community, which is, I think, is not something we had before, at least not at our old church. Something he said, yeah, a lot of people call it church shopping, where people are looking to find a church that checks all of the boxes that they want. He said, I would encourage you not to church shop, or not just to look for a church that checks off what you want, but really pray about what God thinks, what you need in a church, as opposed to what you want, because those are two different things. Something that you need may not be something you want, because it pushes you to use different muscles. Something else he said that I did really appreciate as well was, he said that church is not meant for us to receive completely. It's not where we sit and receive from other people and from professional Christians, which is honestly what I felt like I was working at a church. It's where we come to serve. And that doesn't mean, he made it very clear, and this is the point I wanted to emphasize. Serving is not going in and serving on the welcome team, or serving in the kids ministry, or on the media team. Serving is opening your home up to other people, having other people over and being in community with them, and having a group of people who you can be fully authentic with, and they truly love you, aren't trying to fix you, but are there just to come alongside you. But he was like, not even that. If you want to even take it a step back, instead of opening your house up, but just like if somebody else is opening their home up and having other people over, you just going over to their house and communing with other people, being authentic about your story, that is serving the body. And I really appreciated a lot of things that he said, because there was a lot of apprehension going into that meeting with him. And so that's kind of been like our church hunting experience. It's been hard. It's been really hard. I'm not going to lie. Like, I don't love waking up on Sunday right now and going to church. What I do crave, and which is why I keep trying to show up, I think there is something in me that does deeply crave that community of people who honor Christ, who see Christ as Lord, which is not something that neither Noah or I get in our 12-step programs. Like, people talk about God and people believe in a higher power, but no one talks about Jesus or Christ. And so I think there is a yearning in my heart for people who do see Jesus as Lord. And I think that hunger is so deep that I am willing to every day, not every day, but wake up, at least I try to, on a Sunday and go to church. And it's not an easy thing to do at all. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say about like our church hunting experience. The only other thing, which is much more lighthearted than both of those topics, is I was kind of surprised at how many people were not, I wouldn't even say interested in my golf tournament, but just wanted to know how I did. And so I did record a small snippet in my car the other day when I was like trying to record a video like on the whim. And I'm going to insert that now. Welcome to my car. It's been like a week since I posted my first video coming back, and I have had like just a very kind response from you guys. And some people, like, I didn't think me mentioning my golf tournament was going to be that big of a deal, but some people wanted to know how I did. So it was funny because I was in Fort Myers, Florida for the tournament, and I got back maybe like 3 days before they shut down the airport for Hurricane Ian. There's a fly. There's been a fly in my car for like a week. The tournament was so fun. So fun. Like, such a cool experience. I basically got to like pretend be a pro golfer for a week. My goal was originally just to make it to the tournament, and I made it, and then my goal was then to make it to match play. So there was, if you don't know much about golf, there was 130 people that made it to the tournament, and then after 2 days of stroke play, they cut the field to 64 people. And so my goal was to make it to that match play, which I did, and then I got to play with like a woman who is like one of the most decorated female amateur golfers. She has 7 USGA championships, and like, to put that in perspective, like Tiger Woods has 9. So it was cool just to like play with her and get to know her, and I was kind of just like kind of in awe and that was that experience, which was really cool. And it was fun because my mom and my dad were both there, and Noah came down, and so we've been back now for like a week and a half, almost 2 weeks now. And so getting back into normal routine, although now the hurricane is kind of like, or at least the outskirts of it are hitting us right now. So it's been pretty rainy for the last several days, and I'm about to go in to train, but I wanted to come on and like kind of share maybe like a bonus video. Another thing, this is big for any of like the OG people on my channel. So when I first started my channel, I started it with an iPhone 6S. I had that phone at that point for like, I don't know, a few years, and I still had that iPhone 6S until like 2 days ago when I didn't upgrade it. Like, I didn't go buy a new phone, but I took Noah's old phone, and so I now have an iPhone 10, which primarily why I chose to start using it was so that I could like make videos more like on the go, because my 6S had like horrible audio. My audio was so bad. Like, you couldn't hear me when I was like filming a video. Ew, my car is gross. So that is why I updated my phone. I hope you guys enjoyed this little bonus video. A little bit more unedited. Please let me know if you like these videos, if you like this more sort of chatty video. I enjoyed it a lot, being less scripted, more authentic, more in the moment. And so maybe this is something I continue. We will see where this channel goes. I really appreciate you guys coming and watching my videos. It does mean a lot, and it's been really cool to just see this channel grow from nothing. I am very appreciative of everybody that watches my videos and, I don't know, wants to hear what I have to say, because I don't feel like I'm that like important or cool of a person. So yeah, I thank you for watching my videos. If you like my videos and you do want to subscribe, you do want to hit the little thumbs up button, that would like really support my channel, and it's like completely free for you to do. I would really appreciate that, but you don't have to at all. And I will catch you guys in my next video, which should be out on Monday. Bye guys.